So with these integrate rests, right, there is a little line right here that matches up with the line on this little thumb peg. What I've found is it's not enough to have tension. It's not good enough to have just enough tension so that those lines line up. You actually have to have some additional tension on this cord, because this cord works kind of like a seatbelt, right? So you have to pull on it and then you have to release the tension very fast in order to get it to drop. If you don't put enough tension or release it with enough speed, that rest arm just will not go down. And if it doesn't go down, you're going to get contact with your veins, and you'll know, because this is a metal arm, you're going to strip those veins right off of your arrow in most cases. So what you need to do is you actually need to pull, this cable has to have enough tension so that it pulls it almost beyond the little mark. And the way I do that is I will just I kind of skipped this step earlier, but I will put the bow in the press, put enough tension so that I can run the rest cord through my down cable. I will just move it up to where the serving ends, tie a little fisherman's knot, right, just so it keeps it in place. I'll then move the arm into the up position. I'll remove any tension on the set screw that's in there so that this cord can go freely. I'll make sure it's nice and tight. I will then knock an arrow, pull back, let down. From there, right, that should have pulled the necessary slack, right? From here, what I'll do is I'll actually from this end, I'll pull the cord just a little bit, between probably 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of slack. I'll actually take out of the line, and then I'll set that set screw down. That'll give me enough tension to ensure that my rest drops soon enough. Now, after I do that, I'm going to throw the bow back in my draw board and make sure that my cam timing is still good to go. Reason being, the tension created by this rest cord will actually throw off the timing of my cams if I didn't have it set up properly. So there's advantages and disadvantages to this system, right? Very easy to set up as far as like screwing it onto the bow and making sure everything's lined up. A little bit more to think about when it comes to cam timing and making sure that your rest is working properly. That's one of the reasons I actually prefer a limb-driven rest. A lot of people will say, well, with that extra cable running to the bottom, I could get that caught when I'm walking into my stand. All right, well, dude, if you're catching your rest cord, and here, let me use my PSC as an example. If you're catching this rest cord, right, you're probably catching your bowstring and your cables on stuff as you're walking in too. The difference is if you catch a limb-driven rest cord and for some reason that cord becomes damaged or unusable, all you have to do is run a new cord from the rest to your limb and you're good to go, right? Whereas with a cable-driven rest, if something happens to that rest cord, your cam timing could be off, your rest may not operate because it's not in the proper position. There's a lot more things that can actually go wrong when something does go wrong with a cable-driven rest versus a limb-driven rest. Typically, right? That's not true of all designs, but with this Hamskea like I run right here, I actually just, here, let me remove the equalizer so I can show you guys. But when installing a Hamskea rest like I have on my PSC NXT, I'll do the Dudley method. This isn't an NTN model, so what I'll do is I'll actually just tie a little fisherman's knot, run it between the eyelet in my down cable, and then, or actually this is my up cable, and then I would just loop it through my Hamskea, and I'll actually just tie a prusik knot just like you would find on your safety line of your tree stand rope, right? That way that allows me that I can actually add or remove tension on here with just my hand. I don't need any tools. So if I need to paper tune this thing, or I want to just check where everything's kind of lined up, right? For whatever reason, I need to lift my rest cord, I can do that without any tools. And then if I need to, when it comes time to set this thing back up to shoot, I can just pull down on it and move my knot down. It's kind of an awkward thing, but it is convenient and I don't have to use tools. I thought I was somewhat of an innovator doing this, and then Aaron Snyder actually told me that he's been doing this for well over a decade. So There goes that. I thought I was making a name for myself in the industry, but someone's always had the idea before you. So limb-driven system, in my opinion, just a little bit of a simpler system to set up and run, and a little bit less maintenance, and on my end, a little bit more peace of mind. But that being said, these QADs are extremely lightweight and they're in line, so it does create a more natural kind of ergonomics of the overall bow and does help keep the weight down. And honestly, once you set them up, you can kind of forget them. I had an Integrate Ultra Rest on my Verdicts last year, had thousands of arrows through that bow. Once it was set up, I never had to adjust it again. It was just a great rest. So just some things to take into consideration when choosing rests and setting up rests.